hey everybody, and welcome to the Filmmaking Masterclass for Film Prize Junior 2020. Guys, this is going to be a very exciting time. We have a few of our amazing judges here, and I'm very excited to introduce them all to you. But don't forget to go to filmprizejunior.com to watch all the films. This is the very last week, so don't forget, go in there, cast your vote. Students, this is go time. You don't have any more time left to get out there and get these films seen and voted on. Get your friends and family and everyone you can to watch them. All right, now, without further ado, let's go ahead and meet our judges. So I'm very excited to introduce these guys. So we have Tommy Granville, Camille Gladney, Calvin O'Neill, Johnny Stapleton, and Christine Chen. How are you guys doing? Awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and start with you, Tommy. All right, I'm going to get you to introduce yourself. So Tommy, can you tell me how did you get in the film industry? Tell me a little bit about yourself, and then tell me how you're doing today.
Well, I'm doing great today. I got in the film industry from music. I was originally, well, I'm still in the music industry, but that's where it all started for me. My first film that I actually did post-production work in was a film for the Louisiana Film Prize. So that actually got me into doing films. I'd had music placed in films before, but I'd never actually done the post-production work or even dealt with that part. So I was a little reluctant to do it, but a friend of mine kept prodding me to do it. So here I am. So.
That's awesome. So, you know, I love it that a lot of us got our start in film. A lot of the friends that I know got our start in film through Film Prize. So that's really awesome. And then Calvin, you have a pretty good history with Film Prize. How are you doing today? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? How are you doing?
I'm doing good, Colby. Thanks for having me. My first short film I ever made was for the Louisiana Film Prize, the first one. You know, I'd been working for a bit and I always talked about making a short film, but I never did it. And the Film Prize was a great opportunity. I'm glad I jumped on that because it really just helped me keep some momentum going. But no, I got my start right out of high school, tried to go to film school, you know, ended up coming to Shreveport, found some editing training classes through some tax incentives, and found Moonbot Studios where I started editing there. And yeah, that's kind of where I got my start. And it's been really fun. It's been a lot of fun.
That's awesome. I know that you have a very exciting job announcement. You've gone from Film Prize, you know, short filmmaker now to something pretty big, right?
Yeah, I just started working at Disney this week, and it's been a lot of fun. A lot of fun working on some animated content over there. And yeah, it's been a long road from the Film Prize to here, but it's been, you know, a great one.
Awesome. Excited to hear it. Well, so next we have Camille Gladney. Camille is another filmmaker here for as a judge. We're very excited to have her. Camille, how are you doing? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hey, doing good. Thanks for having me. I started out from a writing background, got my degree in writing from Goddard College in 2015, and did musicals and plays first before writing my first Louisiana Film Prize short in 2018. And that has led to some other writing projects as well, which has been really cool.
Awesome. We're excited to have you here. And I think next we're going to go to Christine. I think Christine just joined us. So Christine, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm good. Thanks for having me. Yes, so I started, one of my first projects was A Bird's Nest in 2014. And I had been making stuff prior to that, but it was not serious. So this was probably the first film I actually took to film festivals after that. I did a whole film circuit and had that film festival experience because of A Bird's Nest, and made a bunch of that subsequently. And then moved to Shreveport.
Wow, I remember Bird's Nest. I remember it feels like so long ago, but also so close. You know, it's like how time moves.
Yeah,
so that's awesome. So thank you for being here. And I think last but definitely not least, we have Johnny Stapleton. Johnny in the house. How are you doing today, Johnny? Tell us about yourself. What you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm timing myself right now so I don't yap on too long. I am originally from Nebraska, started, I think, the same way a lot of these high schoolers did, making shorts and studied acting, moved out to LA afterwards to kind of pursue that dream. And then that eventually morphed into wanting to direct. And I met a cinematographer named Domenico who kind of allowed me to direct while he shot, because I didn't know much about the camera side of things. And we just started making a bunch of shorts. We made one insanely low budget feature. And then we heard about the film prize. So I headed out east, I guess, since we were in LA at the time. And we did that for 3 years. And fortunately, we're able to win 2 of those in 2016 and 2018 with The Man from Mars and Funky Butt, and have enjoyed a lot of the opportunities that have come because of that. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Johnny. I'm so excited to have you here. And so, guys, this is a really exciting time. We have 24 amazing films from students all across. I can't stop, dropping myself. We have students from all across, Louisiana, and this is like really an impressive feat for these students. I know a lot of us, got into filmmaking after high school. I didn't know what I wanted to do for almost 6 years after high school, and so it's really exciting that these students are jumping in early, and so it's really, regardless of where they came from or who they are in Louisiana, we wanted to give them all the same opportunity to be able to make a short film and try to win some money. And so without saying the names, I'm going to ask you guys, I'm going to start with you, Tommy. So you've seen all the films. Like overall, how do you think these students did?
I think they did awesome, Kobe. There was a very diverse subject range, and it really shine a light on what's going on from their perspective in the world, and their perspective is quite different from my perspective when I was in high school, because of all of the technology and all of the other things that they have now. So it's very interesting, and I really enjoyed watching all 24 of the films.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed them. Yeah, I think it's incredible to see like how these students have really it's created sort of a microcosm of our country by showing what these students, their perspective of life going on around them, and then expressing it through filmmaking. So I think that's really awesome. And then Camille, I know that you've watched all the films. I don't know about everyone else, but I know you've watched all the films. What did you think of them?
I was really impressed. They were really ambitious and, like Tommy mentioned, very diverse. They experimented with different genres that I thought was really cool. Some of them were really out of the box, and I appreciated that they were trying different things while also clearly speaking to what was important to them.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And so I know that I think a lot of us, myself included, I wish there was a lot of stuff I knew going in. I would have given anything to have a filmmaking class when I was in high school. That would have been awesome. But but having gone through it, through trial and error as I have, I wish there was a lot of things that I would have known whenever I first started. And I know that Christine, I know that you've had a really, diverse career in filmmaking. You've done so much stuff. You worked on big films. You've AD'd for a lot of big films. You've done a lot of awesome stuff. Like, is there anything that you wish that you would have known, going through like filmmaking? If you could go back and do it all over again, what would you wish you had known going in?
Sure. I think the biggest thing is don't wait. There's never a perfect time for anything. There's no perfect equipment, perfect anything. And it's because you're going to learn by doing, and you're going to figure it out as you go. And then the next thing, at least it was a big lesson for me, is pick people you want to work with that you wouldn't mind spending time with after set. Don't pick people because they own certain pieces of equipment that you need. Equipment, resources, that will come, but if you're stuck with someone that you really just can't get along with, it's going to be a rough set. So yes, sets are really extremely stressful, high strung in any situation, whether you're working with friends or not, because you're racing time, resources, elements and everything. And so don't add to that stress if you can.
Absolutely, I agree. Like you got to learn to take things in stride. Like you said, film is it's a very stressful environment. There's a lot of moving parts. Yesterday, I was talking with Gregory about editing, and the day before about pre-production. And so many things go into filmmaking that you can't really afford to lose time by stressing out on things, even though it's going to happen. But and then I think, yeah, surrounding yourself with people who you like working with is really important, because the last thing you want is to be in an argument about something or not being able to have a
My first experience was with with a crew that I could not stand. So it actually, I didn't make films for a while because of that. It was such a terrible experience. And so, yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's collaboration. The best films come out from the best collaboration. So, learning that early on, that, because I know for me, when I first started, I wanted to do everything myself. I thought the world couldn't wait to see me. I was like, I'm going to do all this stuff and it's going to be awesome. And then learning to be able to appreciate the work of others and the input of others is very, very important. And I know, like Calvin, I know that you definitely have to do that, because as an animator, as an editor for animation, that's an incredibly collaborative process. And so you've experienced that from all facets of filmmaking, right? Like, because you've done animation and live action. So, like, is there anything that you wish that you would have known going in? I think Calvin's muted.
Sorry. Like what Christine was saying, I mean, you learn by doing. There's a lot I wish I did know going into it. I didn't really have a lot of film classes in high school like you did, or like like some of these kids did. But it's really interesting. You do learn by doing. So sometimes it is better to just like get your feet wet, or just jump into the pool and just start doing whatever it is you feel like you want to do or need to do. And what I found is you will find collaborators who want to collaborate with you if you have that attitude, if you have that mentality, and you look for those people while you're trying to create your art. So, and when you find those people, again, to piggyback on Christine, you'll start gaining momentum, and then you'll start finding your voice. Then you'll start, getting more inspired, and you'll just build that confidence, and then, it's full steam ahead from there. So, yes, there is a lot I wish, I had done in high school, but, I'm grateful, and I'm glad these kids are getting a head start. It's really, really cool to see, and I'm excited to see how, the experience for them is when they jump into the pool, and see where they kind of grow in that respect. So that's exciting to see.
Absolutely, I completely agree, and I know that. So Johnny, you're also in a unique perspective, coming in as our only two-time film prize winner. I think some people would probably look at you and think, wow, he's got it all. Johnny knows the formula. Johnny knows everything. So can you tell us like what you wish you would have known, and is there anything going on like in your film career that that you feel like that these students should know, even though they might see you as the guy who's done it. He's done everything.
That's yeah, I mean, I think to piggyback on what these other filmmakers have said, I think you are always learning. Literally every single time that you film something is a learning experience. You never know it all, and there are always curveballs that happen. I think it's pretty rare that we have a shoot like where there's not some day where the stress is coming down on you, and maybe you're by one of your buddies who's there on set. And I think just like they said, surrounding yourself with a team of people that you enjoy working with, so when it does get hard, they're there for you. And you like, a lot of times you realize, like, when you're on set, especially for a longer period of time, there's sort of like a family dynamic a little bit, and you feel the love that's there. And if there was like one thing I wish I knew before getting into making sound, the one thing I was really impressed with in a lot of these films is, that they had sound equipment. They had a boom or a lav mic, which is already about 7 years ahead of where I was at that time. And also, writing what is something that I learned about later. And there were so many films that like were really personal and really hit me, and you could tell we're coming from a very real place. And then also, I think kind of like the other side is being innovative and being outside the box. Both of those things. You don't necessarily have to write what you know. You can also just kind of have fun and be playful and, you know, just try things, because there are things that you might experiment with for future films. There's stuff I learned back, you know, when I was maybe 16 that I'm still using those tricks today. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And I want to bring it right back down to around to you know, those curveballs you were talking about, you know, like we've, you know, we learn these lessons over time as filmmakers, some that we're taught through going to film school, if we did that, or some we're just taught through trial and error, you know, and these are hard. Filmmaking isn't easy, but it can be incredibly rewarding, you know? So like, I know Camille, like you've had some interesting movie sets. You've had a lot of stuff going on, you know. So like with your films Gloria and then St. Esther's Day, you know, was there ever a time where you felt things were just falling apart, you know, wondering why am I doing this, you know? And if there was, like, how did you handle it? How do you get your film across the finish line whenever you think that things are just falling apart?
I will add another voice to the chorus of the importance of the team that you gather, because that is hands down the only way to there have definitely been times when things were hitting the fan on set, and there have been moments where I was able to delegate. There have been moments when I didn't know what to do, and someone with infinitely more expertise was able to advise me, and we went with their plan. And there have been times where we all put our heads together and worked together, and our hands together with manual labor, definitely, to make it happen. And yeah, the magic of teamwork.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And Christine, I know you know a lot about teamwork. You've made a lot of films for Film Prize, you know. So like, you know, and Film Prize has a deadline that a lot of people, you know, sometimes struggle to make. But I don't know if you ever have. But with all the films that you've made for Film Prize, have there ever been any moments where you felt things weren't going to work out, that you thought that, you know, I need to, you know, figure things out and just put it over the finish line? How did you handle that if that happened? If not, you know, what advice would you give?
Totally. I would say my second film, Two Roads, there's one thing about directing by yourself and directing with somebody else. Sometimes working and directing with your really good friend doesn't always equate to the same vision. So I think it's just being able to, when you it's like it's a balance. So in the time being, you have to figure out what's worth sacrificing. And is it the sunlight that's happening right now that's going away because it's magic hour and there's only 1 hour of that, or that you can put aside your differences for now, and then later on in the night you guys can yell it out and figure and be better, and then come together the next day stronger. So I think, especially coming from an AD standpoint, it is all about the balance of sacrifice and what you're trying to accomplish. And it's sometimes you have to set aside your ego and everything to be able to get that shot that you need at a certain time. And then there's plenty of downtime afterwards to duke it out and figure it out afterwards. But yeah, it never goes perfectly ever, because there's just so many things beyond your control. And tensions are high, you're hungry and tired, and if it's an overnight 3 days in a row, you're gonna be cranky. That's just how it goes. We're humans, so.
Absolutely. I always think that, I have to be willing to rewrite the script at any moment for any situation.
Yes, flexibility.
Flexibility, that's absolutely important, because like you said, anything can happen, anything will happen. And the sooner you're prepared for just the inevitable, for the unexpected, the better. And I think a lot of those things can come up, at any point in filmmaking, but especially in post. And I know, Tommy, like you, you deal with a lot of post-production work because you are a sound designer, a sound mixer, and you're a musician. Like,
Yes.
Tommy, like working with a lot of these filmmakers in post, like a lot of the ways people can prepare for post, is by being organized and trying to come at you, with, like with everything that they need right up front. But I know that that's not always the case. I'm pretty sure, I've seen some pretty disorganized productions, and I'm just curious from your perspective, what are some of the ways that people can get prepared once they've shot their film, they've got all their sound recorded? Like, what's one of the ways that you think people can prepare for post? Because sound, is, like Johnny said, like Christine, like everybody said, is one of the most important things.
Well, I think the most important thing that you can do to prepare for sound in post is to pay attention to the sound on set. because if you have a perspective as to what's going on in post, then it'll make you do different things on set. So at some point, if this is going to be your career, if this is something that you're going to pursue, I think that you should work in sound or sit next to a guy like me while I work on a film. Because if you're going to be a director or if you're going to be a video editor, then in order to get good sound to me, you're going to have to know what I have to deal with because I'm the last step. So if I don't have all of those pieces because someone before me doesn't understand sound in post, then it's going to make it much more difficult, and your sound might not come out as good as it could be. So any type of apprenticeship or something with someone like a sound engineer is actually the best thing you can do. Now, as far as the organization of it all, I think the best thing that you can do is after you've gotten your film together and the video editors wrapped it up and send an AAF or an OMF off to me or whoever, then I think also they should send the entire set of audio that the on-set sound guy gave you, because the video editor and the director will sit down and they'll listen to a film and they might pick certain perspectives of a clip, and the perspectives that they pick might not be the ones that I know would work best because I deal with sound. So they might say, hey, that sounds good, but me, I'm like, no, that's too buried in the noise floor and I can never pull that out of there. So they might think that one perspective of the sound sounds better and it doesn't. So I think all of that comes back to just kind of knowing what happens in post. So I do on location sound and I do post production, but I did post production first. That made me a better on location guy because I know what a post production person has to work with. So that goes back to all of the organization and all of that, because I'm like, hey, somebody's got to deal with all of this audio. So I know how to organize it. You don't really know how to organize it if you've never worked with anyone in post. So
absolutely. That goes back to organization and to collaboration, being able to work with others. I like to wear a lot of hats on set, or at least I used to, but I like now that I know how to wear those hats because I can understand what everybody needs, why they need it, why they're upset about something, and all of that. And I know when it comes to sound, a lot of people don't think about music. And I know, Johnny, this is a big one for you. You've made a musical before. And that's a really collaborative process because you have to write the script, write the music, and then get the lyrics, and then do that all in post. What was that experience like for you, and how important is it to be really well prepared for doing that? Because we have a musical in the festival, you know, and I think that, you know, it's awesome that these students are really trying to do something like that. And I just think that if anybody else wants to go and make a musical, there's some things that they could definitely learn.
Face the Melody is the one you're referring to, I believe, which I'm just going to say I thoroughly enjoyed. Yeah, I think, so I'm going to kind of talk to sort of two ends here, because doing the musical for us was very different than how we've done music in the past. So, I mean, that experience was, I mean, luckily I didn't have to do a lot of the work on that end, you know, again, like speaking to collaboration, you know, finding the people who are good at those things, and it's even better when they're your friends. And luckily one of our friends was a musician, and he sort of thing. So, and he had a friend who was an arranger. So then he wrote it, and then the other guy arranged it, and then the other friend owned the studio, and then they called in all of their friends who were played instruments. And you know, you're saying you're paying them a small amount, and it's really exciting and rewarding, because you don't really know, there's a lot of trust when it comes to hiring someone to do a score, and you know, you try to talk as much as you can about what you want. And I think it's helpful to play music or specific songs that you want it to kind of be similar to, or, you know, kind of, I don't know, you get what I'm saying. Like basically examples, and then they can kind of get it, but then you also want to give them that, you know, freedom and creativity as well. And a lot of times what they come up with is better than what you had. And but in the past, what we had done before the musical was find music online. And I think for probably a lot of these students in the beginning, before you know sound composers and have access to that, what you're going to do is just recommend like pond5.com, Audio Jungle, Premium Beat. They all charge, but some of them are really cheap. You can get a nice piece of music for maybe $15, which is kind of backwards, even for films like The Man from Mars and Stag, is since we didn't really know any composers, we found the music ahead of time. So we searched through these sites, found the music that we really liked, and then we actually kind of crafted the sequences and the script to cater to that music. So it was a little backwards than the way it normally works in the film industry, but I think that happens more often than you might expect. You know it's going to work in the end because you have already done that. So if you don't have a composer, that might be what you have to do. And I also want to say I unfortunately will need to be leaving here very soon, but I really enjoyed this, and I just have to say, really great work, everybody. I mean, the the level of emotional depth in some of these films was so far beyond anything that I had done or was capable of doing, like probably 10 years ahead of my time. So I found myself just very impressed and also inspired. So really great work.
Well, thank you so much, Johnny. We're so excited that you were here to spread some of your wisdom. And yeah, so I you know, for me, going back to the music, like it's something I had to learn as a lesson really early on, was I can't just use any music I want, even if it might not be recognizable to the audience. YouTube will recognize it. And I think that was an important lesson whenever I came to Film Prize. Like, I made a film for Film Prize our first year, and we had music in it that we had sourced from free sources online, and it was public domain or it was Creative Commons. And that's, music rights are pretty diverse, and it's a really it's very complicated. And so trying to figure out what music you want to have in your film can be, you know, music is the thread that brings your film together. So it's very important. And so I think, yeah, Premium Beat, Envato, Audio Jungle, Pond 5, these are great sources, and do that, because you don't want to be stuck in the boat where I was in, where I made a film, it did really well, and then I had companies wanting to buy the rights to stream it online, but we couldn't, because we couldn't have the music rights. And so if you own the music, that's an important thing, you know. And Tommy, you would know a lot about that, about composing music, and you would know a lot about getting that stuff ready for film. So what would you say to students as well? Like, if they don't have music, they don't have a lot of money, what would you say to them?
Well, well, music licensing is very, very costly. If you look at the production budget of any big budget film, post production budget, then the music licensing is through the roof. But the good news is there are lots of guys and girls in high school and that are around them, or that are aspiring musicians, that will be glad to work on a film. And I can think of lots of people, if you say, hey, I'm working on a film, they would gladly allow you to put their music in the film, just because it's out of what they're doing, and they see it as a way to elevate them, or to give them a credit that they didn't previously have. So I think you'd be very surprised, just talking to people that you know that do music, and they can help you a lot there, and just kind of work some things out with them. But I do think that the music portion of it is very important, especially when you're doing scores, because music tells the audience how you want them to feel. You know, so it's like, if you don't have the right music, then you can change a serious film into a comedy really quick. And I did that once. So
Absolutely. Music is very, very important for you can you could change it to a comedy, you can change it to a horror, just by the
yes,
simple sounds, and I think, like what you said though, about finding people who might be musicians around you, that's very, very important. A lot of successful filmmakers have their own crew of people that they like to work with, and that's from everybody from the cinematographer all the way down to people who compose music. So, like, I think that brings it right back around to collaboration. I think collaboration is our theme for this right now, is being able to work together and not doing everything yourself, and so these all of these films were made by a large group of filmmakers. Some of them were just a couple of filmmakers, some of them were a whole classroom of filmmakers, and there's a very broad spectrum of filmmaking here from all across Louisiana, and all of these students, they want to take home the grand prize. But we have 24 films, and not everybody can bring home the gold, but that's awesome to win the prize. But there's also some really amazing things that these students have learned by making films, that, like, every student filmmaker can take away something. Camille, I think that you might have a good input on that, like, about what these students can take away from being able to make their first film, and then being able to put that out in the world, regardless of the results.
Yeah, I think nothing gives you confidence like getting out there and actually doing it. So just the experience of going from story idea through the development and pre-production process, getting on set, trying your hand at different equipment and different techniques, and then the whole post-production process, which, as you've heard, is very complicated. Once you've done all that, you will know at least 100% more than you knew before. And you'll feel, if it still calls to you after all the work that you've done, then you know that you want to dive back in, and you'll do it even better than before, and you'll learn more every time. So I think that confidence is very important.
Absolutely. And, in Calvin, I think that, like, you also have a great perspective on that, on being able to, having Film Prize be, where you started in filmmaking, and then seeing, where all of us have gone, and seeing where you have gone with starting off on that first step in filmmaking, you know, like we can understand that, like Camille said, you know, that this is a very important step and this is a very important thing. And there's more than just the one award. There's more than just the one festival. There's a whole world out there for you. And so what would you say to these students who are concerned about winning, but they don't know what to do next?
Well, I think it's really important to realize that, you know, to take as much as away from, you know, making your first few films as possible. Try to learn as much about yourself as possible when you're making your first steps. Try to think about your first films. Think about what you're trying to achieve. Think about what kind of stories you want to tell. Think about what kind of visions you want to like execute, and set the bar high, and, you know, aim for it. And, you know, and sometimes it's tough because you're not always going to hit the mark you want to hit. But every time you go for that mark, you're, like Camille was saying, you're going to learn more about yourself, and you're going to learn more about how you can execute it, and you're going to figure it out. And you're going to want to figure it out. So I think failure is actually, you know, a pretty good lesson in how to, you know, build your own self-confidence, learn how to grow, actually learn what you really want to do, and really what stories you really want to tell. And I think that can really drive your creativity and your focus as well. It might sound a little counterintuitive, but, you know, fail as much as possible, do as much as possible. Don't be afraid of it, because the more you're not afraid of it, the more you're going to grow. And that's something I wish I knew a little bit back then, because, you know, I was really hard on myself on a lot of films when I didn't hit the bar that I wanted. But not hitting the bar taught me so much, and it, you know, it increased the drive in me to like want to learn more and to want to be a better filmmaker. So don't be afraid of that. Don't be afraid to go out there and take those risks, because, you know, from what I've seen from these films so far, a lot of these kids, you know, aren't, you know, afraid, and that's a beautiful thing to see. And I just hope they just keep the momentum going, and it's going to be, you know, the sky could be the limit.
Absolutely, it is a beautiful thing to see, and to see, you know, the diversity of the types of films that these students are making, and that the limbs they're going out on to tell the stories that are important to them is really inspiring, you know. And there's nothing like going to see a good film festival and then coming away wanting to go and make a film myself. And I feel that like this has definitely happened for me this year, just curating all of these films, you know. And so I'm gonna bring this question right back around to everybody else as well. So like Christine, I want to know what you think. You know, like we all have different perspectives from where we've come in filmmaking, and what would you want to tell these students in order to think about before they're about to, you know, find out who the winner is, and then after going beyond that?
So it's all about the journey, right? I know that's super cliche and annoying, but it is. It's the process, and for me, yes, you're working towards the product, but really it's everything in between that you will remember and that you'll cherish and learn the most from. And so it's great if you do win, or it's okay if you don't, but you have to think long term. Along the way, you will have learned how to be a better filmmaker. You will have met a group of a network that could possibly employ you or be a part of your projects in the future. And these things are invaluable. And if you really, really love filmmaking, there's nothing compared to doing something that you love with people that you care about, and just to remember that, because it's going to suck. You know, none of us have all, you know, Johnny won everything. So, so clearly, but we're still here. We still make films because that's the part we love. It's the process. If we were here for the money or for the awards, it would be a pretty short-lived career.
That is the absolute truth, because like, you know, I remember whenever I first started out, I thought all I wanted to do was direct. I wanted to be the guy with the bullhorn calling the shots, and that's it, you know. But over time it evolved, through collaboration and doing all of this stuff, I've learned to love editing in a way that I never thought I would starting out. And that came from me having to learn how to edit myself. But then I've it evolves. So when you first start out, these students, they're first starting out making these films, and they might think they have it all figured out. And some of them might realize they like lighting, or they like set design, or they like recording audio, or they like doing costumes, and that's awesome. And so, but going in thinking you've already got it figured out is probably the wrong attitude to have. You should go in thinking there's an entire world of things that I don't know that I'm very excited about learning, and I'm going to bring it right back around to you, Tommy, like starting off, a lot of filmmakers, I've met filmmakers who started off wanting to direct and then ended up loving doing boom. And I was like, I remember being younger thinking, wow, that's crazy. Why would you want to do that? That doesn't make any sense. But I get it now, having gone through the process. So my last question is going to be to you, Tommy, the same thing. What should these students take away? And this process has been a very, very amazing learning process for all of them. What should they be thinking about going forward?
Well, I think the most important thing, and I can probably give you an example, is there can only be one winner of it, but that doesn't mean that everyone else isn't a winner as well. One of the biggest successes I had in my life came directly after I was denied by a lesser company, and a bigger company came along the very next day, and it ended up being the biggest project that I'd ever worked on in my life. So sometimes when things happen, it's more directing your path to maybe something greater or where you actually should be. So don't take it too hard if you don't win this one, and if you win it, great, that's awesome. But there are many opportunities and many paths and many directions out there. So.
Absolutely. There's a lot to be learned for anybody, whether or not they win, whether or not they even win an Oscar. Your filmmaking is never going to stop growing, and your filmmaking journey is going to continue going on. But guys, this has been absolutely incredible. I'm very, very excited to been able to have spoken with you today. And I think that like you guys have given out some incredible information for these students to digest. And I'm really thankful for all of you for being here and spreading the love and watching the films and judging them. This has been an awesome experience. I just want to say thank you to everyone for being here. And does anybody else have anything to say before we do?
I was going to say real quick this is not the only film festival. So please submit your other films to other places too. Like, I love the Film Prize, and the Film Prize is a good stepping stone for sure and everything, but it is not the only festival. So if you don't win, submit it to other stuff. It doesn't mean that you can't be successful elsewhere.
Absolutely. Even if you do win, keep submitting it. Yes, submit them out. Get yourself out there. That's how you meet people that you want to work with. Calvin, I think you had something.
I was just gonna say Viva la Film Prize and Viva la Film Prize Junior. Yeah.
I think that's a good note for us to go out on. I think all of us need to give a good Viva for these students. All right. So, well, as a quick reminder, before we do the Viva, I just want to say, don't forget to go to filmprizejr.com, watch all the films, vote. Tomorrow night, we have the blue slate, and then Friday night, we have the red slate for people who want to watch it live with an audience. And then don't forget to watch the films, vote, and then help these students win almost $10,000 in grants and scholarships. So it's an incredible opportunity. Don't forget, and students, like we said, this is the moment. You only have a few days to get those votes in. So get your friends and family out there. All right, is everybody ready to do that Viva? All right.
Yeah.
All right, so on 3, we're gonna give a big Viva la Film Prize Junior. All right, ready? On 3, 1, 2, 3. Viva la Film Prize Junior! Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much, and it's been great. And we're out.